I'll call this hearing to order. Good evening. My name is Craig Pettit, and I will be your chairperson for tonight's hearing. I'd like to introduce you to the other members of the Land Division Committee. Vice Chair Liz Danielson, Pat Kennedy, and Bill Blakes. This meeting is held through remote electronic participation in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The purpose of this hearing is to give the applicant or authorized agent the opportunity to discuss their application with the committee and to respond to the written submissions which may have been received. It is also an opportunity for the committee to broaden our understanding of the application by asking questions. Members of the public who are participating virtually today may also make oral submissions to the committee. The procedure we use is to hear the applications in the same order as they were received in our office. Our Secretary Treasurer will introduce each application, and our planner, Les Jagoda, will provide a planning brief. When participants registered for the meeting, the file number of the application they have an interest in was noted by staff. Participants wishing to take part in the hearing will be admitted virtually to the Land Division Committee meeting. Participants will be provided 5 minutes to speak to the committee. As the chair, I will then ask each member of the committee by name if they have any questions. We'll now proceed with the agenda for this evening's meetings. Additions to the agenda?
There are none.
Declarations of interest?
If I may interrupt, we've lost Warden Danielson.
I'm here.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Using the chairs. All right. Could we have a mover and a seconder for the minutes, please? All right, if you would just call your name out, please.
So moved.
Liz?
Pat.
Moved by Liz Danielson, second by Pat Kennedy. Be it resolved, the Land Division Committee approves the fall. Oh, that wasn't in order. All right, moved by Liz Danielson, second by Pat Kennedy. Be it resolved, the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held February the 8th, 2021 be approved as printed and circulated. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Carried. I will now ask our Secretary Treasurer, Lisa Gillen, to introduce the applications for this evening's hearing. You would please, Lisa?
First, we have item 6.1, which is application H-001 of 21. The applicant is 2476563 Ontario Inc. Location of the property is lots 7 and 8, also 16 through 18, part of lots 11 and 12, part block F, Gregory Court, part Blair Drive, Plan 557, Geographic Township of Dysart, now in the municipality of Dysart et al. The purpose of this application is to create a new lot together with an easement for right-of-way.
Thank you. All right, Les, if you would give us an overview, please.
Good evening. This application seeks to sever 1.3 acres approximately with an easement across the Pinestone Resort entrance for commercial development. The commercial development proposed is a car wash, gas bar, drive-through restaurant, and a convenience store. Given its location at the Haliburton Village Settlement area and along County Road 21, these are permitted uses under the highway commercial and commercial policy areas. So it meets all the policy direction designations. It is also under site plan control review. So under the site plan control review, during the review itself, we found there was an omission of our technical report. So the technical report, it was omitted in some manner, but we're asking for a deferral on this application until that technical study is submitted.
Thank you. All right. As committee members, in your package, you've noticed that is missing now. I would suggest we defer this, but prior to that, are there any questions or comments from the committee? Something else you would need clarified before it comes to a meeting again? Liz Danielson?
I had a question about the access, and I mean, it's probably my fault. I should have called in advance, but I'm just not clear about that. It appears that that's where the Pine Stone's entrance is, am I correct? Or no?
Yes, correct. That was one of the, they want an easement across Pine Stone entrance as one of the entry points. There is a secondary one that comes off County Road 21 as well. These are all under review, of course.
From a transportation perspective, as, yeah, because I see that there's an entrance from the front, and I'm just wondering about conflict between access to the Pine Stone and access to this development. But I'm assuming if there was an issue, the Pine Stone would have raised it.
Yes, they would have, but as mentioned, it's under site plan control. So everything is under review. It'll be reviewed by county roads as well as myself and the municipality. So there will be a number of discussions about that. The entrance points, that is.
Pat Kennedy, any questions or comments?
No, this is the old garage location, I understand it, and so those entrances will still be used as the original ones, and the easement is just an additional, is that correct?
I can't speak to the original one. I'm not that familiar with it, but it appears that they're trying to utilize the site as it was before, Pat.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Bill Blakes.
I'm good.
All right, thank you. All right. I have a motion here. Application H001 for 21. The decision is that the application be deferred. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. All right, Lisa, if you would take us to the next one.
Next, we have item 6.2, which is file H-002 of 21. The applicant is A. Lloyd Murphy. Location of the property is part of Lot 11, Concession 12, Geographic Township of Minden, now in the Township of Minden Hills. The purpose of this application is to grant an easement for right-of-way.
Les?
Fairly straightforward from a planning perspective. They just want to realign the paper plan and the traveled portion and just realign the easement and just service the two adjoining properties.
All right. Any questions or comments from the committee?
I had one. The easement shows that it's going to that is that the last lot? Then on the, I'm not sure what direction would be on the right of the page anyways. Is that the last lot in that thing, or is it going to go across that lot to another one?
Well, if I think where we should start on this one is the fact that this is totally dealing with the property of the applicant. It has nothing to do with anything else. All they are doing is re-describing the layout of the right-of-way. It's not creating anything that's not already there. It's simply a topographical adjustment, I suppose you could say, to legally describe what they're going to have. Liz?
I hear what you're saying. I know that one of the when I looked at this map or sketch and there were other properties referred to, you can't see those properties or see what impact there might or might not be from the sketch. So, you know, I've got the same question mark in my head as Pat, I think. You can't tell that from the sketch.
All right, Les, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as I see it, it's a right-of-way that exists already. It's just the location of it's changing on the subject property itself.
Yes, you're correct, Craig.
All right, thank you. All right, Liz, Pat, does that kind of resolve your question?
Not really. So my apologies, but you know, it says in the report that it impacts other properties, and you can't see them. Now, if there's no other, you know, I mean, if the access to other properties remains exactly as it is, I guess that's okay, but you can't see that.
Well, clearly, this is not going to change anything that legally exists now. It's not going to add rights of ways or take away rights of ways that legally exist.
Well, it may be clear to you, but it's not clear to me, and
Okay.
my apologies.
Before we talk to the representative, Bill Blakes, do you have any questions or comments?
Basically, along what Liz is talking about, I was looking at the sketch and it just crashed, so I'm bringing it up again. But no, I'll listen into what's explained here.
All right. Could you introduce yourself, please? The agent.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Katie Mandeville. I am a registered professional planner. However, I am not acting in that capacity tonight. The subject property is owned by my grandfather, A. Lloyd Murphy, and I am simply here as a granddaughter, not a professional planner at this moment. So thank you, Chair and members, for having me. I can speak to a few of the members' questions there. The sketch that was provided simply shows the subject property. The right-of-way is to replace an existing right-of-way that was legally established on title, and it benefits one property. So it is only one property that this would be benefiting. I do understand from some of the letters of correspondence and some stories from my grandfather that there are some neighbor disputes in the area, and that previous right-of-ways which lead to this property may be under dispute. However, I would encourage the committee to focus on the subject application, which is simply correcting an existing legal right-of-way, rather than trying to weigh in on the neighbor disputes and previous right-of-way disputes that may or may not have some merit.
All right. Thank you. All right, committee members, Liz Danielson, anything?
I still have not seen anything that would prove to me that the change is not going to have any negative impact on other properties. And if I'm failing to see something, my apologies, but I still don't, I don't feel like I can see that. I don't see the evidence. I mean, Craig, you're saying it's no problem and you're saying it's no problem, but there's nothing on paper to show me that.
Les, would you like to add anything to this?
Not particularly. I think it is a clear legal description. Perhaps the report was a little bit all-encompassing to acknowledge a few things, but from the legal aspect, Liz, it's clearly the two properties, the one benefiting, as Katie mentioned. I think that is the real issue. I understand perhaps what you're saying.
But there is only an outline of one property. And you've just mentioned two properties. And so you.
Katie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Perhaps I could just provide some more clarification. It seems like perhaps the committee members are looking at the sketch. Could I just confirm if the sketch is in color, the version you're looking at?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So through the chair, the subject property is outlined in red. So this is a property owned by my grandfather and has been partially owned by my grandfather for a number of years. There is a legal right-of-way registered on title outlined in a purple color. So a dark purple color is the existing right-of-way. It's 6 meters wide at one end, kind of on the right side of the paper, and then 10 meters wide on the left or kind of south side of the paper. So basically there is an existing right-of-way here in the dark purple. The pinky purple kind of color is an existing utility line, and the dark green outline, which is 10 meters wide by 45 meters long, it's the proposed right-of-way. So essentially what occurred, to give a little bit of history, is that my grandfather previously got permission, I believe through this committee a number of years ago, to establish a right-of-way there in that purple outline to benefit one single property that is located to the east or the right side of the paper. That legal right-of-way was established and then the road was built. So everyone, of course, is familiar with cottage country roads. They tend to be built where the geography allows for it and the terrain kind of, lends itself. So of course, in this situation, the road was not built in the area that the right-of-way was obtained for. So they are simply looking to correct the location of the right-of-way. So they're not looking to alter anything before you get to this subject property, and they're not looking to change anyone else's deed or do anything to anyone else's property. It's simply correcting an existing right-of-way that's shown in the outlined purple, and then replacing it with basically what's outlined in the green color, which would be a wider right-of-way to allow for emergency services, and to ensure some slope stabilization can occur, as there is quite a steep slope here in real life. So it is simply just correcting and replacing the previously existing right-of-way on this subject property, which benefits the one adjacent property. It does not have an impact on anyone else in the adjacent area, despite what some of the neighbors may be claiming.
That's all sounds great, but it still does not show where the adjacent property is. As you said, it's being realigned to benefit an adjacent property, correct?
So through the chair, if I could,
All
thank
right.
you.
Go ahead.
So the adjacent property is the benefiting property. So it's also a property owned by
I'm trying to make, you cannot see the adjacent property on the sketch. You can't see, anything other than your grandfather's property. It all sounds good. I can see where the old right-of-way was and what you're hoping to do, but it's, if I'm not mistaken, the red outline is your grandfather's property, right? And there's no indication or sketch of what the neighboring property, where its boundaries are.
It's the property on the right hand as you're looking at the sketch. You understand that, I'm sure. You just don't see it drawn in, is that correct?
That's correct.
Well,
So it's hard to see where the boundaries are and where the right-of-way is accessing that neighboring lot. I don't want to be difficult. I just, when we're looking at information, I want to be able to be clear.
all right, Lisa?
I was just thinking, are we able at the office in council chambers to pull up the GIS map and show it over the screen so that we could see the boundaries of the properties in the area?
Can we do that?
Through the chair, I actually have the county's GIS system up on my computer right now. I don't know if I'm allowed to screen share, but I could.
We'll take care of that here.
Okay.
Thank you. One question for you, Katie, while we're on this. On the application, in existing use, it says that it's residential. Now, the map doesn't show anything other than a boathouse and a privy. Is there actually a residential structure on that property?
No, sorry, Chair. I was basically referring to the fact that the zoning is residential in use.
Well,
So there is currently two
On
structures.
page 99, it simply said existing use and was down as residential existing, which I couldn't find any residential buildings, so.
Yeah,
Right,
sorry.
so it's vacant other than the boathouse and the privy.
Correct, vacant other than those two structures.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna give her a whirl here. Is that, Liz, are you able to see that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Katie and Les, 10455 is the benefiting property. 2218 is over which the right of way passes.
Okay.
Is that correct, Les?
I believe so.
Mhm.
That helps. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
All right. So any other questions or comments from the committee members?
No,
All right. We have a motion. Application H002 for 21. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
would you like to take us through the conditions, Lisa?
Sure.
Please.
Condition one hard copy and one digital copy of an acceptable reference plan or legal description of the severed lands and the deed or instrument in triplicate conveying the severed lands shall be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer for review and consent endorsement within a period of 1 year after the notice of decision is given under Section 53, 17 or 24 of the Planning Act. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Haliburton GIS technologist to confirm an acceptable format for the digital copy of the reference plan. Number 2, the deeds or instruments submitted to the Secretary Treasurer for review and consent endorsement shall be accompanied by an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming that the deeds will be registered on title within 2 years from the date of the certificate as per Section 5343 of the Planning Act. Number 3, the lands to be severed are for the purpose of establishing an easement for a right-of-way for the benefit of lands located in part of Lot 11, Concession 12, Geographic Township of Minden, and further described as 10455 12 Mile Lake Road, currently owned by Muskie Property Limited, and the existing right-of-way to the benefit of the same lands must be relinquished. Any subsequent conveyance of that portion of the lands to be severed for the easement is subject to subsection 53 or subsection 55 if in a plan of subdivision of the Planning Act. Neither the lands to be severed nor the benefiting lands are to be reconveyed without the easement granted through this application unless a further consent is obtained. Number 4, as the lands to be severed are for the purpose of establishing a right-of-way to the benefit of the lands referenced in the previous condition, the deeds or instruments submitted to the Secretary Treasurer for review and consent endorsement shall be accompanied by an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming the subject land will not be conveyed without the easement unless a further consent is obtained. Number 5, the registered owner shall pay the balance of any outstanding taxes, including penalties and interest and any local improvement charges, if applicable, to the Township of Minden Hills. Number 6, the registered owner shall ensure to the satisfaction of the Township of Minden Hills that the township is fully reimbursed for any costs incurred by the Township of Minden Hills for professional services related specifically to this application. Number 7, prior to endorsement of the deeds, the Secretary Treasurer shall receive a letter from the Township of Minden Hills confirming that conditions 5 and 6 have been fulfilled to its satisfaction. Once the applicable conditions have been satisfied, it's recommended that the applicant or agent contact the Township of Minden Hills to request that the clearance letter is issued. We also have 2 notes, one being that the county does have a shoreline tree preservation bylaw because the property is waterfront. It's just something to keep in mind. And second, should the right-of-way to be created connect to other easements that will result in 3 or more properties being served from 12 Mile Lake Road, the right-of-way would then be classed as a private road. The private road will require a name under County Bylaw 3885. And the applicant shall ensure the road name is assigned by the County of Haliburton and costs covered shall be borne by the applicant.
All right, any questions on the conditions, Katie?
No, thank you, Chair.
All right. Okay, we've passed the motion, so we'll move on to our next one. Thank you for your input, Katie.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, members and staff.
Thank you.
So next we have files, well, items 6.3 through 6.7, which are files H-003 of 21 through H-007 of 21. The applicant is Catherine Gonson. Location of the property is part of lot 5 and 6, concession 1, Geographic Township of Dudley, part of lot 6, concession 33, Geographic Township of Dysart, now in the municipality of Dysart et al. The purpose of all of the applications is to grant an easement for right-of-way. These lands are also subject of a subdivision application. So the easements are to address properties that have yet to be created.
All right, thank you. Les?
Yes, thank you. That's correct. Draft plan is subdivision. So one of the conditions of that draft plan is that these 5 related easement applications be given provisional consent so they can move forward with the draft plan of subdivision. It's primarily for lots 3, 4, and 5. The policy comments, the policies, the review agency comments indicate that as long as the easements are constructed roads, if you will, be under construction standards that are admissible or agreeable to the township of Dysart for emergency vehicle use. That's the case in most of these. The last two, and I think we have the proponent on the line as well, but the last two are reduced easements instead of the usual 20 meters. The last one, because of the slope down for water access, it's half. So they're 5 meters for the last two combined to be 10. So that issue would be suggested that the proponent speak to the township of Dysart regarding emergency vehicle access. The rest should be following the comments, the agency comments of construction standards, meeting emergency vehicle use. And there are 5 of those together.
All right, thank you. I was looking this over, and on application H006 for 21, the paragraph 4 states that road system constructed to standards 20-meter width. And in the municipal comments on page 177, it's for emergency vehicle access. And on page 178, in the county conditions, it's also included. However, on the application, it states matter of factly that it's for the purpose of access to the water and asks for 5 meters as less as explained. So given that we have a shoreline preservation policy around, it would seem rather wrong to ask for 20-meter wide accesses on applications 006 and 007. So I'd like the committee's thoughts on that. Liz Danielson?
I'm looking at the first drawing because I just wanted to look at the overall picture. Are you referring to the right of way between lots 4 and 5 running to the water?
Yes, there are 2.
That's 20 meters wide?
The application was for 5 meters each, although in the conditions asked for by the municipality, they were still suggesting a 20-meter width for all of these accesses. So it would seem to me that as a committee, we would be wise to take that down to the requested 5. Now, Pat, this is your municipality. What do you think? What's your opinion?
Yeah, we've reviewed this at the local level, and I must confess, Mr. Chair, that the 20 meter and 5 meter was not brought up at the lower tier. I would agree the 5 meters, given the shoreline tree preservation bylaw that's currently in place on those lots. I don't have an issue with that. That's still accessible by most emergency vehicles, I would think.
All right, Bill Blakes.
I would support what Pat said. If the emergency vehicles can get in there, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, well, this was simply to provide access to the water for the property owners. It wasn't, it's road access to these lots, so the need for an emergency vehicle to come in by water would be most unlikely.
Access to the water for the residents.
Yes. All right, now we have applicants here with us, and do you have a spokesperson?
Yes, my name is Carl Gonson. I'm the agent for my wife, Catherine, who's sitting beside me. She's the owner. Thank you very much for hearing us. We are in support of the first 3 applications and the conditions there too. It's the last 2 applications that I think there's some misunderstanding. The last 2 applications were devised so that the access to the water would be at a shared point to minimize access elsewhere. And the idea arose from the environmental evaluation done by our environmental consultant to try to minimize the disruption to the shoreline. There was no intent to allow emergency access to the water. It was merely to try to minimize the amount of disruption, to bring the two access points together at the one location where the slope is the most gentle down to the water. And we felt that 2 5-meter wide rights of way would allow one to build a zigzag walkway down to the water so that erosion would be minimized. So the intent is to have a total width of 10 meters, and the owner of lot 4 can use the right of way on lot 5 and vice versa. And thereby, with the zigzag, you can minimize the slope even more. You can put in some retaining wall, or sorry, railway retaining wall ties and that kind of stuff to slow the water down, because we are very conscious of the shoreline and protecting the shoreline. So that was the intent. There was no intent to bring any emergency vehicles down to the water.
I see you, Liz.
And I have some suggested wording changes to the condition to reflect what I just said. I had thought that I raised this issue with Lisa last week, and I thought that we would be able to make a change to the conditions at the meeting. If not, I guess we'll have to think about it. You know, it's just not, it's not practical, and it's not advisable to bring emergency vehicles down to the water there.
Well, as I'm sure you've been listening in, and it would appear to me that the committee members have agreed with the concept of a 10-meter wide line access, so that's fine. If you just excuse me, I'll have Liz Danielson speak, please.
Yeah, I haven't agreed to anything. Sorry, I didn't, I've got a much better understanding now of kind of the intent. Now, if my understanding is correct, these lots are not yet developed, that these are accesses to future development lots?
Mr. Chair,
Would you please bring us up to speed on that? Les?
It's a draft plan of subdivision that's being circulated right now. So one of the conditions of the draft plan is to establish an easement system or a road system internally to service the lots.
I understand the necessity for the road system to get to the lots. That's no issue. But these lots 3, 4, and 5 are all waterfront properties. And when sold as individual properties, they are going to have individual rights of access to water, how much of their land can be used for access, how much of it can be cleared, you know, based on what we're proposing for the shoreline preservation bylaw. I don't see why there needs to be a right of way between the two properties to the water at all.
I think topographically it may be beneficial to do it this way, but we'll have, Carl, would you speak to that, please?
Mr. Chairman, I think Member Danielson is correct. We don't really need it. When it comes down to it, yeah, you could eliminate these rights of way. You could eliminate each lot could have its own individual access to the lake. Yes, we're just trying to improve it somewhat.
Liz?
You know, I appreciate the intent. I just don't see that by having that access to the water, that right of way to the water, is going to in any way prohibit the individual owners from rights to develop their own shoreline as they see fit. I don't know that there is a way for us to restrict further development when there's a separate right of way between the two lots. If I was to buy one of those properties and I had the ability to have my own access to the water for a dock and whatever I wanted to have was allowed to have on the shoreline, I'd want to do that. And to put the two properties so close together for that kind of development or access, I can see the possibility of future conflict.
Mr. Chair, I think Member Danielson is correct in what she says. If the committee wants to eliminate that right away, I don't think we would have a problem with that. However, conditions 10 and 11 need to come out.
All right, Pat, you had,
Yeah, I think I appreciate what you're trying to do in principle, because if I look at the topo map on the next, which is the next sheet, it looks like it's basically a cliff with one spot to get down to the water, and you would end up being right on the property lines of both of these people, the future owners. So that, I think what you're trying to do is probably to get ahead of any future land issues or property issues between neighbors. But yeah, do you really need it? I don't know.
Bill, do you have an opinion on this?
Is this does it benefit all the lots, or is it just the two lots to the left?
Carl?
Mr. Chairman, it's just for lots 4 and 5. So 4 has an easement on part of 5, and 5 has an easement on part of 4. 5
Okay.
meters and 5 meters for a total of 10, which gives you a little bit of scope to zigzag if you want. And just by creating, it doesn't mean you couldn't ignore it totally and just have your own individual one.
Incline elevator.
All right, well, I think we've probably discussed this. Were you out to see this property at all, Les?
No, I haven't.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, what is your preference? Now, I guess, Lisa, would you like to read the conditions? If you combine, please, if you combine them all, just the ones that have different conditions. If you point them out, please.
Well, I think at this point in time, the conditions were all the same. Let me just double check that. Sorry, 1 second.
Well, if we do the first 3 anyway, they should be very similar, and then we have the access
Okay.
to the water on the last 2.
So currently the conditions are the same for all applications, and they are as follows. Number 1, 1 hard copy and 1 digital copy of an acceptable reference plan or legal description of the severed lands and the deeds or instrument in triplicate conveying the severed lands shall be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer for review and consent endorsement within a period of 1 year after the notice of decision is given. It's recommended that the applicant's Ontario Land Surveyor consult with the County of Haliburton GIS technologist to confirm an acceptable format for the digital copy of the reference plan. Number 2, the deeds or instruments submitted to the Secretary Treasurer for review and consent endorsement shall be accompanied by an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming that the deeds will be registered on title within 2 years from the date of the certificate. Number 3, the lands to be severed are for the purpose of establishing an easement for a right-of-way for the benefit of lands located in Lot 3, Draft Plan of Subdivision 46-T-12001, Geographic Townships of Dysart and Dudley. Lot 4, Draft Plan of Subdivision 46-T-12001, Geographic Township of Dudley. And Lot 5. Okay, so sorry, this is where the conditions will differ because different properties are outlined that are benefit from the different easements. So this one is for the application 003 of 21. Sorry, so to the benefit of lands located in Lot 3, draft plan of subdivision 46-T12001, Lot 4 of the same, Lot 5 of the same, currently owned by Catherine Gonson, and any subsequent conveyance of that portion of the lands to be severed for the easement is subject to section 53 or subsection 55 if in a plan of subdivision. Neither the lands to be severed nor the benefiting lands are to be reconveyed without the easement unless a further consent is obtained. As the lands to be severed are for the purpose of establishing a right-of-way to the benefit of the lands referenced in condition 3, the deeds or instruments submitted to the Secretary Treasurer for review and consent endorsement shall be accompanied by an undertaking from the applicant's solicitor confirming the subject land will not be conveyed without the easement unless a further consent is obtained. Number 5, the registered owner shall pay the balance of any outstanding taxes, including penalties and interest, and any local improvement charges, if applicable, to the municipality of Dysart et al. Number 6, the registered owner shall ensure to the satisfaction of the municipality of Dysart et al. That the municipality is fully reimbursed for any costs incurred by the municipality of Dysart et al. For professional services related specifically to these applications. Number 7, the registered owner shall ensure to the satisfaction of the municipality of Dysart et al. That all application fees owed in the amount of $2,000 be paid to the municipality of Dysart et al. Number 8, the right-of-way must be constructed and maintained to standards sufficient to permit safe emergency vehicle access to the satisfaction of the municipality of Dysart et al. Number 9, prior to endorsement of the deeds, the Secretary Treasurer shall receive a letter from the municipality of Dysart confirming conditions 5, 6, 7, and 8 have been fulfilled to its satisfaction. Number 10, the access easement to be created will service 4 lots. Therefore, the easement will be classed as a road. The road will require a name under County Bylaw 3885. The applicant shall ensure that a road name has been assigned by the County of Haliburton Public Works Department. Costs associated with the establishment of the new road name shall be borne by the applicant. Once a new road name has been established, civic addresses can be assigned to these properties. Civic addresses will be determined by the County of Haliburton at such time as they are requested by the individual property owners. And number 11, prior to endorsement of the deeds, the Secretary Treasurer shall receive a letter from the County of Haliburton Public Works Department confirming that condition 10 has been fulfilled to its satisfaction. And then we do have the notes regarding the shoreline tree preservation bylaw and just recommendations that the applicants consult with the municipality of Dysart and the County of Haliburton Public Works Department following provisional consent being granted.
All right. So we have a motion here, H003 for 21. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Hey,
Liz?
no, I agree with everything except the access to water.
Okay, well, that doesn't have any impact on 003, 4, or 5.
Okay, okay.
All right,
Sorry, I'm looking at the map and not the actual documents.
sure. Okay, all in favor, carried. Thank you. All right, Lisa, on 4, if you would just read the conditions that differ from 3, please.
Sure. So the only difference is condition 3, which is the lands to be severed are for the purpose of establishing an easement for a right-of-way for the benefit of lands located in Lot 3, draft plan of subdivision 46-T-12001. Lot 4, the same draft plan of subdivision, and those are the only ones to be serviced by this portion of the easement.
Thank you. Application H004 for 21. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. All in favor, Liz Danielson?
I'm sorry, I'm confused here. We're still not talking about the right of way to water. We're just
No,
talking.
not. That's only on 6 and 7.
Okay, so Yep, I'm fine now.
Pat Kennedy?
Aye.
Bill
Aye.
Blades? Thank you. Carried. All right, Lisa, if you would read on number 5, the differing ones, please.
So again, it's only condition 3 that differs. In this case, the lands to be severed are for the purpose of establishing an easement for a right-of-way for the benefit of lands located in Lot 3, draft plan of subdivision 46-T-12001, geographic townships of Dysart and Dudley. So that's the only lot to be serviced by this portion of the easement.
Thank you. All right. Application H005 for 21. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
carried. All right, now, as I see it, on the next 2, there are several possibilities. Firstly, it can be deferred if there's clarification needed or anything, you need information from Dysart Council before you go ahead with it. They can be granted consent or they can be denied. So committee members, what is your preference here? Liz Danielson?
I don't believe I need any more information from Dysart on this. I'm not in support of it. I think that that's the kind of application that once the actual owners are in place of the individual lots, if they wanted to come back to us with a proposal, if they were in agreement, come back to us with a proposal to do such a thing, that might be different. But to try and put it in place now, I would not support it.
All right, the reason I said back to Dysart Council is their condition suggested a 20-meter wide access where we've discussed 5, so it would be to have them tell us that 5 is okay or not okay. That was one reason I sent it back to them.
I for sure would not support a 20-meter if I'm having difficulty with the 5-meter right away.
All right, Pat Kennedy?
Yeah, it's your intent, Mr. Chair, that if the 5-meter, if we want to go with that, it would have to go back to Dysart then?
I don't believe it would. I think
Okay, we can do it here.
the committee could adjust the conditions accordingly.
If I might ask a question of the proponent, is this going to make a big difference to what your plans are? I think you're trying to do this out of the goodness of your heart more than a requirement, a legal requirement. If we don't agree to this, I'd like your comments on it.
Mr. Chairman, we're trying to do the right thing, and
Yeah.
if you don't approve of that, member Danielson is correct. We can come back another day, or the new owners can come back another day, and if you choose, I guess that would mean you're not going to approve it, which I think we would be happy with. We would be happy with 5 meters. We'd be happy with you not approving it. I think we probably have time to have it deferred for further input from Dysart. So it's really your decision. I would like not to come back to the committee, but I enjoy these Zoom meetings.
I'll come back to you in a minute with Pat or Bill Blakes.
I think it should go back to Dysart for more input. That's my opinion.
Is this one that's on a timeline?
But the timeline is not affected by these rights of ways, only the first 3.
First 3 to get access to the property.
Correct.
All right. Okay, Liz, you had your hand up?
I just wanted to ask Mr. and Mrs. Gonson if we said no to this access, that is not going to, I'm assuming that it would not hamper your plan to continue to develop a subdivision without that in place.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I don't think so, but I would stand corrected by your planning staff there. I'm not aware of any condition that requires this, but I don't have the conditions in front of me. Does Lisa, does anybody remember? I'm sorry, I should have the conditions of approval here, and I didn't.
Now, which one did you want in particular?
The draft plan of subdivision.
So if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, as the person who wrote the conditions, I can tell you this is not one of your conditions of plan of subdivision.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, then don't approve it.
All right. Is that the consensus of the committee? Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes?
Yep, yes, aye.
All right. Application H006 for 21. The decision is. Liz Danielson, all in favor? In favor of denying it?
I'm sorry, Craig, but your sound kicked out. I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay, the decision is that provisional consent be denied. So, all in favor, Liz Danielson?
Aye.
Pat Kennedy?
Aye.
Bill Blakes?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have one more application here to deal with. All right, application H007 for 21. The decision is that provisional consent be denied. All in favor, Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
carried. All right, to the property owners, thank you for your input this evening and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Lisa, you would take us on, please.
Sure. So next we have two more connected applications, items 6.8 and 6.9. They are files H-008 of 21 and H-009 of 21. The applicants are Lonnie and Joanne Kubis. Location of the property is Part Lot 2, Concession 13 and 14, Geographic Township of Snowden, now in the Township of Minden Hills. The purpose of each application is to create a new lot, and these applications were previously granted provisional consent by the Land Division Committee, but the conditions lapsed before the applicants were able to fulfill them.
Thank you. Les, you brought us through, please.
Thank you. 8 and 9 refer to the west and east side respectively. The applications were reviewed and peer reviewed. There was a recommendation of the environmental study to reallocate or reorganize, reconfigure, if you will, the internal lot layout of one of the lots. There was an unevaluated wetland in the, I believe, in the northeast corner of the eastern one, and to avoid any impact, the peer review suggested that the layout, the lot configuration change. Also, in addition to that, their shoreline frontage is under par in terms of zoning, so they would have to pursue a zoning amendment to meet the shoreline set or frontage in that case.
All right, it's my understanding that since these applications were first applied for, that some of the conditions had already been met in terms of the rezoning, that it has already been done. We have no one here representing this. Okay. Lisa, do you know that?
So I'm just going to try to connect to the server again. Unfortunately, it's been giving me issues, but we did receive the notice of passing of a zoning bylaw from the local municipality for these properties. Again, I'm just trying to call it up for my reference so that I can give you more information, but I'm not sure I'll be able to connect.
All right, well, while we're trying that, any questions or comments from the committee? Liz Danielson?
You're on mute.
My apologies. I would have been concerned about the lack of frontage and our requirements, but if the rezoning has gone through, I would think even if Lisa can't confirm that for us completely, we could make that a condition. And if it's already been met, then there'd be no issue. I do understand, though, that there was one person who had a concern about these severances, but I wasn't clear on the details of his concern.
Lisa?
Noted in the package that you reviewed prior. Let me just see. Pull it up.
It looked like you'd had several conversations, but you couldn't see what the conversation was about in any detail.
Okay, so let me just go to their original email. Okay, and let me just see. I believe at the end of our conversation, they didn't have any concerns. They just wanted to be kept informed with the notices. Not showing subject lands, so I'm just trying to confirm that for you. But yeah, my last communication with them was an email where I sent the sketches for both and a map showing the subject lands. And I don't believe I received any for, oh, sorry, there is another comment here. Yeah, they didn't outline any concerns. They just wanted more information.
Okay.
And then, sorry, so I did also find the zoning bylaw notice of passing. So I'll just, I don't know if it would be easier if you wanted that pulled up. We could probably pull that up through the council chambers because it is on the server, but I can just confirm that I do have it in the file if that satisfies.
That's good enough for me. Yeah.
Okay, Pat Kennedy?
Yeah, no issues, especially if the zoning's been approved. And just a clarification, we wouldn't have been able to comment on that anyways, would we, Mr. Chair? We'd just be looking at that'd be a lower tier decision on the zoning amendment?
Well, it would be a condition in the event.
Okay.
It would be a condition, and then after our decision, the applicant would go for the rezoning, and then the local municipality would hear it.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Bill Blakes?
I'm just looking at the email from the person who was asking questions. All they wanted was clarification, as Lisa said. So no, I don't have any issues.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a decision, application H008 for 21. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. All in favor, Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
carried. Application H009 for 21. The decision is that provisional consent be granted. All in favor, Liz Danielson,
Aye.
Pat Kennedy,
Aye.
Bill Blakes,
Aye.
carried. All right, Lisa, where do we have ourselves now?
That's it for applications. So on to correspondence, which there was none.
or that. All right, we have a motion for statistics. Need a mover and a seconder, please.
Pat,
So I'll second.
A third.
We'll get you on the next one, Bill.
I'm my best.
Moved by Pat Kennedy, second by Liz Danielson. Be it resolved, the Land Division Committee received the following reports for information purposes. 8.1 statistics, March 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
All right, that takes us down to the adjournment. Is there, see our next committee meeting?
May the 10th.
2021. Lisa, we have some applications ready, have we?
Yes, we will have files to move forward at that time.
Okay. All right, anything else from the committee or anyone else?
Just one comment.
Mhm.
From all of us, I'm assuming that I really appreciate the work that Charlesie has done on our behalf while she's been here. I understand that this is going to be her last Land Division Committee meeting, and I just wanted to wish her well and thank her for all her efforts.
The same from us. You look all broken up about it, Charlie.
You can't see me very well.
She's going on.
So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right, and Les, good meeting you. Thank you for your contribution here to the meeting.
Thank you. Thanks for bearing with me.
Raise one quick question. I now have assumed that Les is our planner, but that wasn't clear to begin with. I couldn't tell right to begin with whether he was representing one of the applicants or us. So good to meet you, Les.
Thank you. Good to meet you, Councillor.
All right, Lisa, thank you for tonight again. So we need a mover and a seconder for an adjournment. I got
I'll
you
move
down. Seconder?
I'll second it too. No.
Pat,
What's the official time?
It is 8:02.
Moved by Bill Blake, second by Pat Kennedy. Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee meeting of April the 12th, 2021 be hereby adjourned at 8:02 p.m. All in favor? Liz Danielson?
Aye.
Kennedy? Bill Blakes? Carried.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First.
Right. Bye.